Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, a town so small it only makes the news only one day a year. Dubai, a city designed to be visible from space. Every winter, one of these places receives roughly a quadrillion snowflakes. The other receives approximately 0, or slightly less. And yet, according to popular belief, every snowflake in both places claims to be unique, even the ones that never fell. When we say that snowflakes are unique, we almost never mean it in the strict sense of the word. We didn't compare them. We didn't check. We simply assumed that comparing such a number of objects is physically impossible. It's a convenient assumption. It sounds poetic. And, more importantly, for a very long time, it was practically impossible to disprove. Because the number of snowflakes there goes far beyond anything humans are used to dealing with as data. Not in the sense of a lot, but in the sense of too much to even begin comparing. And this is where an important point appears. The problem was not that there were too many snowflakes. The problem was that we imagined comparison too literally, as if you had to take one snowflake, place it next to another, and stare for a long time to see whether these two tiny branches slightly left of center are the same. That really is impossible. Fortunately for all of us, Dr. Alastair Finch had enough time to think about this problem while spending several hours at an airport, trying to convince an automated passport control system that he was, in fact, himself. That was when he formulated a data processing algorithm based on a pre-computer technology, fingerprint comparison. Long before computers existed, people had already understood something important. If you compare one fingerprint directly against hundreds of thousands of others in a file cabinet, there will be no time left to invent the computer. So fingerprints were no longer treated literally. They were transformed into compact descriptions, angles, branches, characteristic points. What was compared were not fingerprints themselves, but these descriptions. The key idea was simple. If you want to compare too many objects, you should not compare them literally. You turn them into a formal representation that is easy to match. This technology was very uncreatively called fingerprint. Today, the same idea is used when Shazam tries to identify a melody that you are horribly whistling into your phone. It doesn't recognize the song, doesn't search for every note. It compares a brief formal description with billions of others and somehow turns out to be right. Or when YouTube detects that someone is trying to upload a video containing fragments of materials containing elements protected by copyright. It does not watch the video. It matches digital fingerprints and finds a coincidence, which means that, in practice, it is easier to compare every snowflake on Earth than to quickly find a file you are absolutely sure you saved somewhere on your desktop. And at this point, scale stops being an argument, because even a single winter in a small town produces more snowflakes than all videos uploaded to YouTube throughout its entire existence. Not slightly more. Just a several orders of magnitude more. After all, if identical videos exist on YouTube, then among a number of snowflakes that exceeds it by several orders of magnitude, they are not just possible, they are practically inevitable. And now we can work with that amount of data. Snowflakes were counted and sampled around the world, in Siberia, Antarctica, Greenland, Snowmass, Colorado, Snowdonia, Schneverdingen, the Australian Alps, the Austrian Alps, southern Spain, the Sahara, Death Valley, California, the Amazon rainforest, the Atacama Desert, and directly on the equator and both poles. Especially fortunate were the researchers collecting samples on the beaches of the Caribbean islands. Very soon, the study produced a result. The algorithm responsible for checking snowflake fingerprints reported a complete identity between two samples, SNF J221045 plus 013517 and SNF J221045 plus 013517B. The first sample was found 13.5 meters from the main entrance to Gobbler's Knob in Punxsutawney, while the second was collected on the indoor ski slope inside the Mall of the Emirates in Dubai by a research team diligently working through the grant they had been awarded. Part of the research team rushed to declare a scientific breakthrough, publishing a paper in the Journal of Glaciology titled Nature on the Discovery of Identical Snowflakes, while another part dismissed the results as unreliable, citing the allegedly anthropogenic origin of the second sample. But the scientific debate did not last long. It was ended by the algorithm itself. Another match appeared. Then another. And another. Very quickly, the number of identical snowflakes exceeded anything that could still be described as a statistical anomaly. What emerged instead was a much less poetic conclusion. In practice, the number of distinct snowflake types turned out to be surprisingly small. Most snowflakes did not need to be described as unique at all. They could be assigned to a group, one of many, each containing not a single specimen, but an entire family of indistinguishable twins. At this point, the discussion quietly drifted away from snowflakes. Because once uniqueness stops being guaranteed by sheer quantity, it becomes an uncomfortable question rather than a comforting metaphor. For a long time, we relied on scale to protect the idea of uniqueness. There were simply too many snowflakes, too many faces, too many moments for coincidence to matter. Uniqueness felt automatic, almost free. But algorithms are very bad at respecting metaphors. They do not care how rare something feels. They only care whether it is distinguishable. And when they look closely enough, many things we thought of as singular turn out to be variations within a group. Not identical in every detail, but identical enough to be treated the same. This does not mean that snowflakes are meaningless, or interchangeable, or that nothing matters. It only means that uniqueness is no longer something you can assume simply because the numbers are large. Uniqueness becomes something else, a property that has to be demonstrated, measured, proven, and occasionally rejected by a system that works exactly as designed. Which raises a slightly awkward question. If snowflakes, with all their poetry, turn out not to be unique by default, what exactly are we relying on when we say the same about ourselves? If you would like to be certain that you are different from everyone else, there is a simple way to do it. You can like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Not because it helps the algorithm, but because almost no one ever does all three. Which means that statistically speaking, you would be the first, and therefore, for a brief, measurable moment, genuinely unique.